Okay, y'all. I posted my very first video on YouTube, but I didn't really introduce myself or said anything about myself. I keep moving around, Lord. Y'all, please forgive me. I'm trying to get comfortable and seated. And since I can't sleep, I might as well share my testimony with you guys on how God delivered me. And it's about to get real, y'all. It's about to get real. And my testimony is, how do I explain it? I am grateful for the experience, because if I can to be transparent with you guys, what happened to me and my testimony, what I experienced, what got me closer to God. So if anybody read the book of Genesis and read about Joseph, I wouldn't say it's a little similar, but it's a little similar. And it had a lot to do with close relatives. So yeah. And I'm going to share with you what took place and what went down. So I'm Haitian. Yeah. I migrated to the US when I was 2 years young. And how I literally found out a lot of part of my story like months ago. Like I literally found out a lot of stuff because the year 2025 was my year of healing. It was my year of, I had to stay behind closed doors and, be delivered and pray and break covenant and repent. And it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. I even got to the point I was like, dang, if I knew that I had to do all of this, I would have been stopped sinning. Because baby, it was so much that I was tired. I was tired. It took so much out of me. And I thought I was done healing. Until I had to face my Goliath. I'm talking about my real Goliath, okay? We all have a Goliath, but I had to face mine. I had to face mine before entering my year of resurrection. That's what we're gonna call it. Before I had to start living how God intended me to live. And it was definitely a wake-up call. And it changed everything. It changed the way that I think. It changed the way that I don't put nothing past nobody at all. I don't care how old you are. I don't care who you are. I put nothing past you from my experience. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm just grateful that, it went down how it went down. And baby, it went down. So I came to the US when I was 2 years old. How that came about, my mother, my biological mother, she was pregnant with me, and she has no way of taking care of me. So she was living with my grandmother, who is her mother. And my mother had already laid out everything for me to go to school the following week. Like she had my uniform. I was 2 years young at the time. She had everything ready for me. I don't know how early kids go to school in Haiti, but I don't know if I was supposed to go to daycare. I don't know how that works in Haiti. I just know she told me that she had everything ready for me. And my mom wasn't trying to tell me the whole story, how everything went down, because she didn't want me to change the way but she told me anyway. She told me anyway, because my dad wasn't playing that. She told me anyway. Then my grandmother went up to her and was just like, give me my baby, but she was thinking of it as like, she's probably gonna take her for a walk, or, you know, take her. I'm literally like nervous telling this story. Y'all, God is so good. So my mom just thought, you know, it was innocent or whatever, until she never saw me again. And then she realized what just took place. Yes, my grandmother took me and came to the US with me against my mother's will. And technically took me in as her own child. So leading up to the age of 18, I was under the assumption that my grandmother was my biological mother. And this is where my Moses era came in, because literally after that area, I had already had identity issues, because everyone that I was friends with had a dad around them, and my dad wasn't there. It was just me and my mother, who is my grandmother. So I used to be jealous of every little girl that had their dad there with them. I used to get so mad when I see a young lady disrespecting her dad, and I even got to the point I corrected her, like, yo, like, that's your dad. Like, don't be talking to your daddy like that. You know how many people wish they had dads? You know how many people wish they had dad next to them, and, you know, in the corner and stuff like that? Like, how dare you? I would definitely take it personal, because it was personal to me, because they have something that I didn't have, and it just came off as if, like, you're being very ungrateful that, you know, whatever. But everybody's stories is different. So how I found out the truth was, I was 18, and my grandmother only told me this because we were scheduled to travel back for a few days, and I had no idea. I just knew leading up to that point, and it makes sense why she would want me to know. And she admitted to me that the reason why she wanted me to know is because she didn't want me to find out from anyone else but her. So her guilt was starting to, like, kick in. So I came home from school one day. I was in high school at the time. And then she was like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, okay. And, you know, at that age, I was very nonchalant. Like, I was very, like, careless. Like, I was numb to a lot of things, due to trauma and everything like that for me to get to where I had got after she said what she said to me, it broke me. So my grandmother told me that she wasn't my mother, and that the person who is my mother is the person that she calls my sister. So yeah. So the lady that I thought was my sister, and she has like 5 other kids with her, I thought those were my nieces and nephews, and come find out they are actually my brothers and sisters. And I thought that I was the only child for this long. So, you know, then my grandmother told me that, you know, after the fact, that she was like, I'm only telling you this because I don't want you to find out from anyone else. So she wasn't telling me, you know, to be intentional, like good about it. She was only telling me so I won't be shocked if somebody else tell me. And a lot of people are telling me, when I tell this story to a lot of people, they're telling me that, basically saying it's normal, it's acceptable, and that's not normal, that's not acceptable, and that I should give credit to her. No, I'm not giving credit to anyone that was using me to cause harm to their daughter, because my grandmother had no good intentions regarding behind her actions. While she was showing me love, she was on the other side bullying her daughter regarding me, you know, using me as a pawn to get back to her daughter. My grandmother even told her own daughter that your child will never find out who you really are. She's mine. Basically, like, she was taunting, like, not only you took her firstborn away from her. Well, now I'm not her firstborn, but I'm her secondborn. The first one died, but that's a story for another day. Not only you took her firstborn away from her, her first girl away from her, you're bullying her behind the scenes, and her baby girl has no awareness on who she is. I believe if my grandmother had good intentions, she would have put in effort to put that relationship together. You know, she would have put in effort for me to talk to my mother. Instead of her telling me that was my sister, she would have put in effort to tell me that was my mother. And me deciding not to talk to her would have been on me and not her, you know, and stuff like that. So because I only knew my grandmother and I only knew her as my mom, I didn't see anybody else but her. But this is the woman that I grew up with, that I know, that I call mom, that I played around with. This is the woman that feeds me, that sent me off to school. This is the woman that I'm here, my only family member in the U.S. And there's other family members, but I have no relationship with them. Not because I don't want to, it's because it just doesn't happen that way. Like, they didn't put in effort, and in my head, I'm like, well, I only know who I know. So, and I'm already numb to everything that's going on in life right now. And, you know, I've been through a lot, especially as a young child, you know, in a house that I had nobody to look after me. So it's a lot that's going on. Rejection started off really young, real young at that. So to get back to the story, my grandmother finally told me, and at that moment I didn't have a reaction. My reaction was the next day in school, in class. I was literally like, it's like I woke up that morning and I looked in the mirror and was like, who are you? Like, I was like, girl, who are you? Like, why is this happening to you? Like, what's going on? Like, what else is under the surface that I don't know about? Like, who are you? And I go to school and I don't know who, this girl was sitting next to me. I was in my nursing class. She was sitting next to me and we were playing around, like joking around, like we were laughing. And out of nowhere, I put my head down and it hit me. I was crying like no tomorrow, like boohoo crying. Like, I'm talking about exaggerating. Like I was just like crying, okay? And I sit in front of the class because I don't know about you, but I want to be the teacher's pet. Because I know I ain't got nobody at home to teach me how to do my homework, and I ain't got no homework helper. So the only way for me to get my grades up in school was to be the teacher's pet for extra credit. So I was always front row seats or next to the teacher at least. And I always volunteer myself to do anything after school so I can get some extra credit, because I didn't have nobody to teach me how to do my homework. So I was sitting in front of the class and in my nursing, in my LPN, I think it was the LPN or the CNA class. The girl thought she hurt me. She told me that after the fact. And I was like, no, you didn't hurt me. You know, I'm just going through something. So my teacher pulled me to the side and asked me what was going on. And I openly told her, and I was just like, my mom is not my grandma is not my mom. Like my mom is my grandma, and like whatever. And she didn't know what to say. She just gave me a hug and she was just like, oh child. It was a mess. It was a mess, okay? So after she said all of that, I was just like, I didn't know what to do. I just accepted it. And I think a week later or 2 weeks later, I had a trip booked to go back to Haiti, to go to Port-au-Prince. And yeah, I did not expect to see my mother. But this is how it went down. This is how numb I was. Like, I was like done. I was numb. When I saw my mother, I was just like, I just looked at her as she was just another person there. It was no emotional attachment. It was no attempt to converse. It was like, you know, my mother on the other end, she didn't know how to approach me, and I had my guards up. I didn't care at the time. I didn't care. I remember when, but my grandmother wanted me. This is how toxic it was. My grandmother wanted me to pretend like I knew this all along, not knowing that, not caring that I just found out about. Like, you just told me this. You just dropped this bomb on me, and now you want me to just pretend like you ain't just tell me that you're not my mama. And you want me to run to this lady that I don't know, I have no emotional ties to, and be like, mommy, like, jump on her. Like, and I was like, no, that's not happening. I can't do that. Like, that's not. But if we would have built a relationship outside of that, and I had known years prior, then maybe the reaction would have been different. But I was numb. Like I said, I only knew my grandmother, and that's who I was connected to. I wouldn't speak to anybody, or I really don't speak to anybody in the family. I only spoke to my grandmother. She tells me who is who and who is who and how long they've been there. My grandmother's the one who keep in communication with everybody. And it's mainly her side of the family, no one else. This is the only woman that I'm connected to. I have some type form of connection to. I don't know my granddaddy. I don't know who my daddy is. And I'm not in communication with my mother. So it's a lot going on. And I was told that my daddy, like, my grandmother never talked about my daddy. So I had to question who my daddy was, and no one was telling me who my daddy was. So I didn't ask. I was just the type of child. I said, whatever it said is whatever it said. Like, I'm not gonna question it. I'm not gonna dig deep into it. Like, it is what it is. I accepted it for what it is. I didn't ask for this upbringing, but fortunately, this is my upbringing. So it is what it is, literally. So what I was gonna say. So I went to Haiti. I wasn't very receiving of my mother because I had just found out. I remember I had a pink hat in my suitcase, and my grandmother decided to give it to my mother, and I was just looking at her like, why are you giving my stuff away without my permission? Like, lady, stop playing with me. No, we're not doing that. So my grandmother gave me, this is how messy my grandmother was. This is how toxic it was. My grandmother gave me some money to give to my mother, and I just handed it to her. And she was like, oh, you're supposed to hug her and jump on her and give her the money. And I was just looking at her like, girl, calm down. You're doing too much. Like, we're not, I don't know this woman. We're not doing that. So stop it. So yeah, she was trying to pretend that everything was all good. Like I've known this for years or whatever. So I was on the bus alone with my mother, my biological mother. And this is how bad it was. There was no communication. I guess we were on the bus to drop her off where she needed to go. And before she got off the bus, I asked her to give her my hat back. My pink hat. Yeah. And thinking about it now, you can tell how broken my biological mother was, but unfortunately it was how I was feeling at the time. I didn't care about anything, and I literally just found out it didn't make the situation any better, and you expect me to pretend like everything was all good, like it was just that was just my reaction to it. I wish that I could go back and receive her better and love on her better, because she didn't deserve that. But that was the nature of the situation at the time. And sometimes I do think about it and I feel bad for that. But yeah, that was the nature of the situation at the time. So I'm in the US, being raised by my grandmother. And when I told you there was no peace in that home, there was no peace at all. I never felt connected to my grandmother. I couldn't hug her, I couldn't kiss. There was no emotional ties, there was no attraction, there was nothing. Like, I had to force myself to hug her or show her some form of love. And there were some things that she would say, and it would have me question her motherhood. Like, is she really my mom? The way she's talking to me and everything like that. And I remember when I was just openly venting to people about what I just found out, a girl called me stupid. Like, she called me dumb in school. And another girl was just like, why are you calling her stupid? Why are you calling her dumb? She just literally like, and then the girl was just like, how could you not know that was not that who your mom was? You instantly know who your mom is. And I'm like, and I couldn't say anything because I was just like, okay, not only that I'm going through this girl's making me feel dumb. This girl's making me feel stupid. So it just stuff piling on top of piling. And to this day, I never forget her for saying that. And I'm not saying I hold anything towards her, no hard feelings or anything, but girl. Anyways, so no emotional attachment, and I'm sitting here questioning God, like, why do I feel this way towards this woman? Like, am I supposed to be here? Like, what's going on? Like, why do I feel like, you know, I feel so weird towards her, like weird, and I was starting to feel bad. But there was no peace. I will always get on, like, when I look for jobs, because I started because she ended up being hospitalized. My grandmother ended up being hospitalized like towards the end of my high school year, like senior year. And she was in the hospital for a long period of time. So now she can't work. And it's only us two. So you know what that means. I gotta start working. So me thinking I'm gonna go away to college. I'm going to live a eventful life. Nope. I was working 2 jobs back to back, no sleep, no rest, trying to provide, because she couldn't go back to work. They wouldn't accept her to back to work because she was not a liability because of her illness or what she was going through and things like that. So she couldn't go back to work, and at the time she wasn't really receiving any government assistance. You know, she wasn't of age yet for retirement, or it just, things wasn't working out for her, and she literally collect money from people. And I think she just got in contact with the right people, and they were able to get her Social Security check. So yeah, that's what she was living off of, and she was living off of me. So there's no peace. And when it was time for me to look for jobs, this is how bad I never wanted to stay home. I will find a job that was very far away, because not only that, there was no peace in the house. I wasn't allowed to do anything. Like, I was only allowed to go to church, school, and come back home. And in Creole, we call it the 3 L's: l'école, l'église, la caille. So l'école is school, l'église is church, and la caille is home. So this was my whole life until I moved out. So I wasn't allowed to do anything. My grandmother was very controlling, very territorial, and just for no reason, because I didn't really give her any reason for her to be that way. That was just her guilt, because anybody that came across me in my younger days loved me. Like, there were people that were trying to get me to marry their son. Like, they loved me. Like, I didn't understand what the deal was with my grandmother. I had great rapport. And for someone so young, I was pretty wise, because I grew up around a lot of women, no men, a lot of women. And I literally was people who were babysitting me were like in their 50s, like older, like old people. So I've been surrounded by a lot of wise women. So I ended up adopting those characters, becoming wise, and wanted to learn new stuff or whatever. So I was pretty wise for my age, and people were shocked even with having a simple conversation with me. So people loved. I was able to talk to anybody and whoever that came in the room. Like, it was never an issue to communicate with me or anything. So I didn't understand why my grandmother was the way that she was. So I dreaded being home. I had to catch a train and go to work every time, and I would purposely do overnight shift. I would purposely pick up extra days. Like, I was never home. I only came home to go to sleep. And there's time I get off, and I would just sit in the train and just let the train do like a full circle, like 3 rounds before getting off to go home. That's how bad I didn't want to go home at all, because I just felt like I was happy outside, and when I came home, it was just sadness. It was so much darkness going on inside of the house. So I didn't want to be around that. And you know, I didn't really have friends like that. So my coworkers was my friends, and I was hanging out, and that's what I wanted to do, hang out. Like, no disrespect. I just wanted to hang out. Literally, like, be free and fly and spread my wings. I was very responsible, you know. I knew I didn't want to get pregnant at a young age, so I made sure I was strapped. Just kidding. So I made sure that I did everything with precaution. And because I feared my grandmother at the time, I just made sure I gave her no reason to think of anything that's going on outside of the world with me. So what happened was, it was like, at the time I was working like regular jobs. I was working at BurgerFi, like restaurants and sushi place and internship. Like for years, I had 2 jobs for years. When I tell you no sleep, honey, no sleep at all. And now I became, I was in school at the same time, and that was another way for me to get out of the capitalism, because I grew up Catholic, because my grandmother is very Catholic to the core. She's very Catholic. So she raised me up in the Catholic church. I did everything in the Catholic church. I was an altar server. I got baptized, communion, confirmation. They were technically waiting for me to get married, and that's it. But I think, I don't know, did they call it the 7 sacraments? I don't remember. I don't know. But I was one of those kids that I was on the altar with the priest and with the incense and doing my little thing, holding the cross and everything. Like, I was doing all of that. And for some reason, I felt like God wasn't there. I honestly felt like God was not there. So I had to come up with a reason to stop going to church. And what better way to stop going to church but by keeping busy. So I was in school Monday through Friday, and I was working Monday through Sunday, and 2 jobs. So I was at Haagen-Dazs, I was at a sushi place. I was keeping myself busy, honey, because I did not want no time, opportunities to go to church. And by the time I came home, I was exhausted. One thing I could say about my grandmother, when she saw that I was exhausted, she wasn't gonna pressure me to go to church. So it worked. And that literally was her excuse. When people would come looking for me, she would be like, oh, she's tired, she's there, she can't come to church today or whatever. So that's how I was able to escape capitalism. And fast forward, I'm in nursing school to become an LPN. I have to literally provide. I have to pay rent. I have to work, and I have to pay for school because I didn't qualify for financial aid. So a lot of money was coming out, and not working was not an option. Like, I had to work 2 jobs to be able to pay rent and pay for school. So it was tough. It was very tough. And my car got broken into, so. And because I used to sneak around a lot, there's a lot of things in my car. And I did some stupid things. And I think it was like 3 or 6 months worth of rent money. That I hid in my trunk. And these were professional criminals. And I guess they knew where to look, and they took everything, and they hit a jackpot. It's funny because, but it started something in me, because I don't like walking around purses or wallets. But baby, after that whole situation, I went on a purse spree. I made sure I had my purse everywhere with me and a wallet everywhere. And I made sure that it was with me. But anywho, so now, my grandmother don't know what would just happen, so I have to bring all that money back to pay rent. So now I'm literally busting my behind to pay rent. And yeah. So I had to come up with a solution. So I told my grandmother that I will just sleep with her in one room because it was a 2-bedroom. And to make things easier, just rent out the other room to somebody, and I'll just come up with the other half. And she agreed. One thing about my grandmother, she's a hustler. She'll stretch $1 for the whole year if she could. She's definitely a hustler. So with that being said, we ended up getting people to move in, and it wasn't a good experience because I realized that my grandmother didn't get along with nobody. I was the only person that was able to tolerate her because all I did was ignore her half of the time. Because I was so numb to her that it would go in the other ear and come out. So I was the only person that, and I feared her, so I was the only person that was able to just sit there and take all the hits and not have any reactions to it. And me not having any reaction to it, that's how toxic it was, made her more upset sometimes. And when I do give her a reaction, it's like she starts to calm down, because now you just got me where you wanted me to be. So so she didn't get along with anybody in the house, and it was an issue. So it got to the point that my grandmother has very wicked ways, that she almost put the whole apartment on fire to get someone out, because there was like an exchange of words between them, and she wanted to prove a point. And it was like, lady, you got asthma. What you putting something like a smoke in the house? Like, well, it didn't make sense. The things that she do didn't make any sense, and it was just resulted in law enforcement getting involved, because I eventually had to call the cops. I didn't call the cops on her. I called the cops to de-escalate the situation, because I was like, I'm not dealing with this. And, you know, I'm tired. I just came from work. Like, I don't want to deal with this. So, and the other guy's saying that he ain't paying the rent because it's COVID season, and, you know, he just not paying the rent. Like, he don't want to pay any rent because of the virus that was going around, and because something with he can get kicked out. And it was just like, I didn't have any strength in me to fight. I didn't want to fight nobody. I didn't want to go back and forth with nobody, and it was too much going on. It was too much chaos going on, and I didn't want any parts of it. So with that being said, I called the cops to de-escalate the situation, and they did just that. But there was smoke in the house. And one thing about my grandmother, she could put on a show. She could put on a show for the cops. She could put on a show. Anywho, so an opportunity came for me to move out. And how that came about was, my grandmother was very excited that she had family members. Well, she called them family members, because I found out that my grandmother called everybody family members just because So she had family members. I'm gonna just take this pillow, cause my, ugh. Okay. So she called them family members, a husband and wife, and they had a 1-year-old at the time. So she called them family members. So I assumed that they were real family members. And I was happy when she told me that she wants them to come live with us because, you know, they're going to be very helpful because I was never home. So she was, one thing, my grandmother's always afraid to be alone. She does not want to be alone. Like, she can't be alone. So she needs someone there with her. So when that opportunity came, I was excited. I did not plan to move in right then and there, move out right then and there. But the family eventually came, and, you know, they were all in my grandmother's room, a husband, a wife, a baby, and my grandmother who's have a lot of health issues. So, and I had my own room, and it didn't make sense to me to have like a married couple and a whole family with my grandmother in the same room. So I told my grandmother that I'm gonna have to look for another place. I'm gonna have to look for a 3-bedroom. So I called my broker at the time, who I wasn't a real estate agent yet. I called him at the time, and, you know, I only knew him through a friend, and I asked him to help me look for a 3-bedroom or something. And he had properties. He had a property that was a 3-bedroom, but it was too much money. I think it was like $2,800 at the time. He was offering it to me for $2,800 a month. And, you know, I was like, at the time I was making $19 an hour as an LPN. And I was paying $1,000 a month where we were at. And these family were coming to the US with nothing. Like, when I mean nothing, I mean nothing. Like, they didn't have any paperwork, documentation, nothing. It was coming here to start from scratch. So whatever job they were going to be getting, it wasn't going to provide or do anything for me. It wasn't going to be able to help me out. So it didn't make sense for me to get a 3-bedroom apartment because I wasn't going to be able to afford it because I wouldn't have anyone to help me pay it. So I had a conversation with the individual that was living there, the wife. And, you know, we were talking, and she was hyping me up. She was just like, you know, you're young, you know, because she saw what most people didn't see dealing with my grandmother. So she was giving me some advice and everything. And she was just like, yeah, you know, you should be able to do this, do that. You know, you're very respectful. And they only tolerate her because of me. So when she said that, I was just like, I could do this. I can move out. So I sent a voice message to my grandmother, and I told her that I think it's reasonable for me to move out while it will be reasonable for me to move out because I don't think it makes sense for them to be in the same place as you. They could have a whole room to themselves. At first, she agreed. She was like, okay, you know, no problem, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And I told her I would still be paying the rent here. You know, I'm just going to find somewhere cheaper and be there by myself. It didn't last. Like, right after she agreed, like 2 seconds later, she literally, like, flipped personality. She sent me a voice message just snapping, cursing me out, like calling me every name but a child of God, okay? She was snapping on me, and I was trying to figure out, what did I do wrong? I literally was just trying to, like, I'm trying to help people out. What did I do wrong? Whatever. But she couldn't see how I was seeing it. So I was just like, okay. It didn't stop anything. I didn't say anything to her. I didn't say anything to her at all. I called my broker at the time and I said, change your plans. We're gonna look for a 1-bedroom apartment. And he was like, 1-bedroom apartment? I said, yeah, 1-bedroom apartment. And he was like, well, what happened? Like, what about the other ones? I was like, they'll figure it out. You know, I'll still pay rent. They're gonna stay here, but I'm leaving. I'm walking out. Like, when I told you God definitely gave me that courage to like do it, I did it. And it happened so fast. I give myself probably like a month or 2 months to move out. I literally moved out in the next 2 weeks. I found a place right then and there and I moved out in 2 weeks. And as I was moving out, you know, when it was time for me to receive my keys, I went up to my grandmother and I was just like, hey. And she was like, what's up? And I was like, I'm moving out. When I told her, she was dramatic. She started crying. She was like, I told you not to do this, da, da, da. And I was just standing there like, do you want to go with me to go get my keys? You know what they say? With dealing with Haitians, they're not going to give you no freedom. You either got to take your freedom. You got to take it. So I was just like, well, you want to go, you can come with me to go pick up my keys. We could do that. And she wasn't having it. She you know, she didn't even go with me to go get my keys. I was on my way dropping her off to her appointment. She was just crying the whole ride, like just hysterically dramatic. And I asked her and I was like, have I ever disrespected you? She said no. And I was like, have I ever did you any harm? She said no. Has I ever bring any babies for you to take care of? She said no. And I was like, then why you not letting me just go? Like, bro, I'm gonna come and visit. I just need my peace. I need my freedom. She was like, I'm gonna give you freedom. I was like, no, I don't believe that. So you're literally just telling me just so I don't leave. Anywho, so that happened. So I ended up moving into my first apartment. Okay, so I had to come here to get better lighting to finish the story. So I ended up getting my first apartment, and it's been like tension ever since I got my first apartment. Like, she made sure that she sent me cause now there's pressure. She made sure that she sent me like guilt voice messages the whole year that I was gone. Mind you, I was visiting her like once a week. Every Saturday I was going down, or Sunday I was going out to do whatever she needed me to do. So, but I knew that if I didn't get out of that environment, that some type of envy and hatred was gonna go towards her, because that's how bad it was. So eventually, I moved out. Things didn't go well, so I ended up having to stay at a friend's sofa for quite some time. And then life be lifing. That'll be a story for another day. And I had to, in 2025, a group of friends of mine had helped me secure this very tiny spot. And it was the best place I ever had, because that's where my healing journey has started, in that little space. So I'm very grateful for that. And because I was away from my grandmother for like 2 years, I thought that I had healed from everything, and that I thought it was okay to deal with her. Like I had no hard feelings. I healed. I've been delivered. I forgive her. So it won't be that big of a deal. So long story short, I got a phone call telling me that where the place that she's gonna be staying, she's going to have to move out, because the owner wants to remodel the whole place, and he's basically telling his tenants to leave And, you know, I think some of them had 90 days or they had time. He gave them time to find somewhere to stay. And my grandmother was one of them. So now I had to, I was in a rush to find an apartment for me and my grandmother to live in. And it cost a lot. But because and people were asking me, like, because they knew my grandmother, they were asking us, like, you think you could do this? And I said, yeah, I could do this. Like, I'm healed. You know, God delivered me. I could do it. I could deal with it. It's okay. I had no idea what I was about to walk into. Before she even moved back in with me, I regretted it. I was already not feeling it. Cause baby, I was just like, why am I doing this, God? Like, why am I doing this? But it had to happen the way it happened, because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be able to say this today. So a lot happened when she moved in with me. And I wanted to get back in contact with my mother. I did. But for some reason, I did not want to speak to my grandmother about it. I didn't want to, because my grandmother was in contact with my mother, but I didn't want to ask her for the information to get in contact. So I literally said, God, I want this, and I'm trusting you to do it how you do it. I'm not gonna go look for it. I just know that it's gonna come to me. And it did. Like, I was coming home from church one day, and my grandmother was on the phone with her daughter, my mom, her only daughter at that, my mom. And my grandmother was just like, oh, here she is, like, you know, talk to her. So now this is different. I'm excited to talk to my mom. I'm like, hey girl, how you doing? She's like, you so pretty. Like, we're just like laughing, very innocent or whatever. All of a sudden, my grandmother wants her phone back. Like, she doesn't want me to talk to her. So I was like telling her in Creole, I said, you know, let me hurry up and give you my number, my contact information, you know, so I give this old lady back her phone. So we quickly exchanged information, and I gave my grandmother back the phone. And from that day, all hell broke loose. I think me and my mom, we were talking every single day. Even my grandmother even told my mother that she regretted that day, because, you know, all hell broke loose, like literally right after. Her true colors started to be exposed. And I was speaking to my man, and, you know, I was telling him how excited I was to be in contact with my mother. And he told me that I should ask about my daddy, and I said no. He was like, why? I said, because I already accepted it for what it is. Like, I'm not gonna go digging. If it comes, it comes. If it don't, it don't. Like, I already accepted God as my father. So I wasn't in the mood to go be looking for my real daddy. Like, I didn't care anymore. I was just like, whatever. But while I was talking to my mama, I was just like, it just came out of nowhere. I was like, where my daddy at? Is he still alive? And she was like, yeah. And I was just like, oh, how he doing? And she's just like, he's good and everything. And I was just like, okay. And I think it took like almost 3 weeks for me to get in contact with him finally. And when I did get in contact with him, he wasn't holding nothing back. See, my mother was not planning on telling me anything. I would have probably not known much if my daddy didn't start it. And all he just kept saying is, your grandmother's not a bad person, your grandmother's not a bad person, your grandmother's not a bad person, your grandmother's not a bad person. And he just kept saying, I forgive her. I have no ill intention towards her. If I saw her today, I would give her a hug because she brought you to the U.S. Like, I didn't understand why he was saying all these things, but he just kept saying that. And that's when my mother decided to open up and tell me some things. And before she told me, she was just like, you know, I'm gonna tell you some things, but I don't want it to change anything that's going on between y'all or whatever. But what she didn't understand is that me and my grandmother didn't really have a relationship. I was just taking care of her because I felt like it was my duty to take care of her. I felt like it was my duty to provide for her. So it didn't really make a difference. So when my mother told me everything that took place, how I came to the U.S. and what happened and everything like that, I said, okay, I was like, no wonder why, you know, I've been feeling all these feelings throughout the years and stuff like that. But it didn't change how I treated my grandmother, because I had no ill intention towards her. Was I disgusted? Yes, I was disgusted, but at the end of the day, I serve a merciful God. And I was just like, if God can forgive me for the things that I have done, then I can forgive my grandmother for what she has done to her own daughter. Like, there's no ill intentions. So I forgave her. Next 24 hours, I was just like, you know what, I'm releasing it to you, whatever. I forgive you, girl. It is what it is. Like, my heart just, you know, hurt for my mother, because I was just like, dang, you went through all that, and you know, that's just crazy. I feel for my mother, you know. I feel like my mother went through the emotional and physical and mental abuse with my grandmother, and I just dealt with the more of the mental abuse dealing with my grandmother. So this lady go to church every Sunday. She go to church every Sunday, and my mother told me that my grandmother had a witch doctor. So so y'all know how I got close to God. So she told me that she had a witch doctor. You know, it was like, as time was going by, things were starting to be revealed and things like that. So the guilt came over my grandmother, and she never spoke to me the same. She used to call me baby. She don't call me baby anymore. She started calling me by my government name. She started treating me like I was her slave. She wouldn't ask for nothing or say thank you for nothing. She would just start demanding stuff. Like demanding that I wake up early in the morning, take her to church, like she was just demanding stuff. And I got fed up, because I was like, I'm human. Like, I have seen you communicate with outsiders and you don't talk to them that way. Why are you going to talk to me that way? Like, what's going on? Like, so I didn't understand the sudden transition, like, but I saw that it was something that God was doing, like exposing a lot of things behind closed doors. So I'm in a relationship now. Because I knew that he would be coming around a lot more, so I made sure that she knew who he was and he knew who she was. So I introduced them and everything like that. The sweetest thing ever, you know. He was super nice to her. When I wasn't able to do things, he would go out his way and do it for her. So yeah, I made sure that she knew this was my man, and you know, he'll be coming around more often. You know, she even knew who he was before I even, I mean, I knew that, I ain't gonna say, but she knew who this man was, and she knew that this man was gonna be around forever. So, yeah. So, things started to escalate, and she started changing until I stood on 10 toes and I said, you know what, since you can't treat me Like, the human that I am, I'm no longer gonna serve you or, you know, do this to you because you can't treat me with respect. You know, you keep demanding me to do things, and I'm not an animal. Like, all I ask for a little respect. And baby, she did not like that. She did not like that. That same night, all hell broke loose. Like, she was telling my mom that tonight was gonna be the night that she was gonna go to prison because she don't know who I was talking to. Like, she felt like I was disrespecting her. She was calling me all type of names. Like, my mom was sending me the voice message. My mom was the middleman to what was going down. And you know, she even threatened to do some spells on my man. So I was like, okay, you can comfort me, but don't comfort my man, please. He has done nothing to hurt you. He has done nothing to you. He's been good to you. This is an innocent person. Don't comfort him. Like, so I got riled up, and I was like, well, I'm gonna give her what she wants. And then I spent an hour talking to my mom, and I got in the car. I was just like, who am I to be going back and forth with this old lady? I'm not gonna deal with it. You know, it is what it is. I called my dude and I told him, you know, you might want to come over tonight because I have a bad feeling that it's not gonna end well. So I stayed outside until he came, and when he came, I got off the phone with my mother, and as we were walking inside the apartment, it was on sight. She just said one thing, and she, you know, and all the Christianity went out the window. Yeah, I was cursing, you know, things escalated, and I had to call the cops. Yeah, I had to call the cops. I only called the cops to de-escalate the situation. I didn't call the cops, you know, for other reasons. So, unfortunately, you know what's crazy? I can't stand when y'all cops do this. Why y'all always trying to kick the person who wasn't trying to cause no harm out? And they were telling me to go find someone else to sleep because she's an old woman when she started it. And I was just like, I ain't going nowhere. I pay rent here. Why do I have to be the one to leave? They're like, oh, but she ain't gonna have nowhere to be. And I said, well, I ain't going nowhere. So I pay rent here. It's not fair. I'm not the aggressor. So when I tell you, I put nothing, dealing with my grandmother had taught me not put anything past nobody's age at all. So after that whole incident, she told the officer that that was it, and she wasn't gonna do anything else. And I told the officer that I'm going inside. I'm going to bed. I don't plan on having any conversation or anything with her. Like, I'm done. I don't care anymore. It is what it is. So we would literally live together and not say anything at all to one another. She'll send people to come contact me and threaten me with things and stuff like that, and, you know, try to scare me, and I end up blocking them. Even people that I didn't expect to say anything to me, I said some crazy stuff to me, I end up blocking them because it's like, why are you doing this? You guys know who she is. And then I end up learning that a lot of her family members knew what she was doing and how she was operating behind closed doors, but they allowed her to do it, and no one stepped in and, you know, confront her, or they just allow her to do it and get away with it. And yeah, she manipulates them, and they think it's normal, and I'm like, that's not normal. That's toxic. It's not normal at all. So how I realized that my grandmother was making trips to her witch doctor. We had moved to Aventura area at the time. because that's where I found my apartment. I told myself I'm not going back down to Little Haiti. I came out of Little Haiti. I'm not going back down to Little Haiti. Like, I'm moving on up. I'm not going back down. My grandmother loved Little Haiti, so she would get on a bus and travel to Little Haiti, and came to find out her witch doctor is located in Haiti. So she'll do early morning visits to him, and my door wasn't locked at the time. I was able to close, but my room door was not. It didn't have a realistic lock. It has one of those locks where anybody could get in. Like, and plus I was only able to lock it from the inside, not the outside. But if you know what to do, you know how to get in my room. It wasn't really locked. So my dude had a collective of underwear in my room because he would sleep over. So one morning he was looking for a pair of underwears, and God had just kept putting in my heart to clean out my closet, and I didn't pay attention to it because I was just like, clean out my closet. I started having very vivid dreams of what was going on in my living room, of animals, cats, weird demonic dreams, and yeah, and me wearing black. You know, I'm new to this. I don't know anything that's going on. I don't understand any of this that's going on. I just know that there's something going on, and it's interrupting my spiritual world or whatever. So kind of find out, she went in my room and she took all his underwear, and she took some of my clothes, and she took it to her witch doctor, and yeah, she took it to a witch doctor, and I was very upset. And I was living in sin at the time because my dude was sleeping over, so we were doing things we had no business doing. And God kept revealing to me that there was no way that he was going to be able to cover me or protect me as long as I was living in sin. I kept having the same dream over and over and over again, that me and my dude was doing things we had no business doing out in public, and a woman is staring at me. A dark-skinned woman is staring at me, and she's wearing all white. She had hair wrapped up in all white, like, she's staring at me. And I don't understand what that meant, but there's a woman staring at me, but she can't come close to me as long as my dude was with me. So, but she's staring at me from afar. Like, she's looking. Like, I could see her looking. I noticed her looking. And I just kept having that dream. And, you know, I just started repenting. And I was in a position, I was desperate, because I was like, I don't understand any of this. I read so much Psalms. Like, every night I was reading the Psalm. I was reciting the scripture. I was getting on my knees praying. I was crying. Like, I was just like, why is this not going away? Like, what's going on here? Like, what is it? Why can't I? And I was also having a dream that there was a lot of things going in my living room, but it was a specific corner in my living room. And I was like, what is this? Like, what's going on? Like, what's going on in my living room? And God obviously saw that I wasn't getting the message. But I was spiritually weak, because He kept showing in a dream that I was trying to remove what was going on in my living room, but I always felt numb and weak to even move. So I didn't have enough strength, but eventually it left. And it was different type of animals, like a frog in a cage. I learned that's like a marine spirit. Raccoon coming in. A familiar spirit that using a individual that I have no contact with or don't speak with, come in my living room, just laying there on the couch in that corner, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I can't go anywhere because I'm tired and I'm too tipsy to like. And I said, oh, what? And I saw that dream that I put my hair out. I was like, girl, you leaving today. You getting out of here today. That's not, you don't belong here. And I had a dream that I was cleaning house, and my grandmother appeared to me in a dream, and she would make physical appearance to me in my dream. Like, I could be sleeping, broad daylight. She comes in my room, sitting there in the dream. She's sitting there in the middle of my room, and she's demanding me to do stuff. She's demanding me to do stuff like, oh, go feed me. And I said, no, I'm not feeding you. You know, and I would tell her that I'm not scared of you in my dreams. So I had some form of strength, but it was as if like I was at a 50, but I didn't have enough strength to like boot it out because I was still living in sin. So so that happened, and this testimony is long, okay? I'm gonna try to make it as quick as possible. But I didn't plan on saying, but it's more details. I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying. So eventually I wasn't picking up on the message, and God just showed me a vision of her just standing in that corner of that living room. And because initially I was like, oh, maybe I just need a clean house. I'm all clean, but no. I got a dream again that she was standing in that corner of the living room. So I was just like, okay, well, why is she standing there? I woke up and I was like, why was she standing there? Well, what's going on there in that corner? And I got up. Luckily, she had already left and she went to church. I got up, and first I went to go clean because I thought God was calling me to clean. I don't know why why am I wide awake right now? Anyways, God was calling, maybe it was just for me to tell you guys this. God was calling me to clean. Like, I thought that's what he was calling me to do, to clean. And you know, that feeling when you're drunk in the spirit. Like, I was playing gospel music, but I was just lightheaded. I was drunk in the spirit, and I was just like, I wasn't even trying to get to that point. I felt overwhelmed. Like, I felt like something was off. And I was just like, Holy Spirit, what is it? And I realized that my grandmother had like a little corner in the living room where she put things there, and she also have a bucket in there. And I know when I went in the bucket before, I saw certain things or whatever, but I didn't saw what I saw this time when I went and looked in the bucket again. And I found that she actually she put an altar in that corner. An altar in that corner. So she had a container of full of fluid inside, and she had a black scarf. I tell you, in my dreams, I'm always wearing black in my dreams. And you know, this was my grandmother ended up hating me in the house. I didn't tell y'all everything because it would be a long talk. She ended up hating me in the house. I would wake up every morning. She think I'm still sleeping, and she's like praying out loud, and she's prophesying death over me. Like, she's saying that I need to get this, I need to get that, like I owe her money, I owe her this, like, you know, she's basically taunting me in the house. And I've been staying silent. After I had the whole incident, I repented for getting out of character. And I stayed silent. Like, there was no communication in the house. I usually catch her saying things when she thinks I'm not there. And, you know, when she knows that I'm not there, she doesn't say anything. And I will leave and not come back till later on at night because there was so much anxiety. Like, it was just too much for me to deal with, and I didn't want to be in that space. So I took a picture of everything. I took it out and put it in a bag, and I was gonna throw it outside. And I called my mom, and I told her what was going on. And she told me to go take it out of the trash, take a lighter. She said, first plead the blood of Jesus over the fluid and pour it out. And she said to take a lighter and set the scarf on fire and start praying. So I did that. And then I did that, and I still kept wearing black in my dreams. I didn't know why. I was just like, okay, I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. There's nothing going on. But what that did to her, it calmed her down a little bit. It silenced her a little bit, because it was as if like her pride was just like, right after I did all of that, she wasn't communicating the same. Like, she stayed silent for real. Like, she had her moments, but it wasn't as intense as it was before, because I done kicked down her altar. Like, I done burned it out or whatever. So I just happened to go in my closet one day, and I was looking for something to wear to go to the gym or something, and I found a black top from Shein. And I was like, I haven't ordered anything from Shein. If I did order something, it's in the storage, because I haven't ordered from Shein in a long time. And it was a size small, so I knew it wasn't mine, and it was not my style, so I knew it wasn't something that I would order. Kind of find out she put a black top in there. She buried it in my closet. She buried it in my closet, and you know, my mother and someone else was telling me to put camera in the room, because they knew, my mother knew who my grandmother was. She knew what she do. So she knew that she was going to find her way in my room and do certain things. And then and I just did what I did. Took the black, she was here at the time. I took the black, I don't know if she was here or she was out. Whatever. I took the black top, put it in the, put it outside, and I set it up on fire. And I kid you not, I started praying, and I started declaring and decreeing that moving forward, I will no longer wear black in my dreams. And after I said that prayer, God showed me a vision that I was dressed in all white. That I was a bride. I'm talking about like dressed up in all white. Like, I had a wedding dress on. And on top of that, one person sent me a picture of it snowing outside, just pure white. And after that, like seconds later, another person who didn't meant to text me sent me another video of it snowing of pure white. So I was just like, okay, I knew this was from God. I knew this is God telling me that, okay, it has been broken. And I have never worn black in my dream ever again since that happened. So yeah. Now we're 3 months in. She's telling everybody she's moving out in October. She's telling everybody she's moving out in November. She's not moving out. I go on a trip with my dude, to see his sister. And I came back, and I didn't say anything. I was gone for a whole week. I didn't say anything to her. She was scared, because I told you my grandmother cannot be home alone. So she was very terrified to be home alone. So when I came, like, she kept telling my mom she feels like I moved out, and like that's how paranoid she was. My grandmother doesn't sleep. Like, she stay up all night, and especially during that situation, she stay up all night watching me, because she told my mother that when she went to her witch doctor told her that I plan on suffocating her with a pillow while she's sleeping. So she made sure that she didn't go to sleep. And mind you, she was calling everybody, telling everybody that she's living in fear and that her life is in danger and I'm a threat to her. And every time someone speak to her, she's like, oh, I'm still here, I'm still living. And it's like, if I was of a threat to you, you would have been moved out. So she told people that she wasn't going to move out because she wanted me to fund her new place, to pay her rent and everything like that, to move out. And God knew if I had the money, I would have done it because I really wanted her out of my space as soon as possible. So, because it was too much going on. And I was like, no, this not going to work out. So with her taking my dude underwear to the witch doctor, because she has spent years preventing my mother from being with a man, from being in relationships, so she thought that she could have done the same thing to me. That she even told my mother that when she looked at him, she couldn't see any faults, she couldn't see any wrong, she couldn't see his heart. And you know what God has intended for you is for you. So this is my man. This is the God-given man. This is the man that God gifted me with. This is the man that God designed for me to be in union with. And she wanted to make sure that didn't happen. And the funny thing about it, you know, when people say that it's true when your enemies know, when they see something that you don't see. She knew already that this was my husband before I even knew this was my husband. She knew it. She was already telling people that he was my husband. And we weren't even married at the time. So when people tell you that your enemies know your star, they see your star, they see what God has planned for you, you know, you just don't see it because you're spiritually blind. It's true. It's true. It's very much true. I had dreams that my grandmother playing in my hair. Like, she's playing with my hair, and you know that means that someone's trying to take your destiny. I had dreams that I had no hair. My hair was falling out, and I was stressed in real life dealing with her. My hair was falling off. Even after I moved out, I was still going through something in dreams with my hair. My hair was being tampered with in my dreams. Familiar spirit were coming in my dreams, playing with my hair. And as time goes by, I was learning and praying against it and things like that. God gave me enough strength to confront her one day, and I was just like, are you moving out? And she said she's waiting for me to pay her way out. And I told her, you're not waiting for me to give you any money, because it's not like you don't have any money. You desperately want revenge, which is why you're still here. Because if your life was still in danger, you would have been left. I don't see anyone whose life is still in danger still stays in danger. You would already excuse yourself. You would already moved out. And you kept telling people that you were going to move out. So I can't do this anymore. When are you going to move out? So she just kept going back and forth with me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to just terminate the lease. And she was just like, oh, well, if you terminate the lease, I'm not going nowhere. I said, well, you're going to have to go anywhere. You're going to have to go somewhere because your name is not on the lease. Mind you, was living there for 4 months. And I knew that I was going to have to cough off some money for terminating my lease early. But God, I literally prayed for favor. So that same day when I was terminating my lease, they asked for an email. I sent an email and I contacted my broker. And he told me that I had nowhere else to. He told me I was contacting him to help me look for a place to stay. And he told me that he already has somewhere for me to stay. And I was just like, what? This is how fast God moves. God was waiting for me to speak up in order for me to go where he needed me to be. There was a season, there was a time to be silent, and there was a time to speak up against my Goliath. There was a time to face my Goliath in order for me. All this was happening towards the end of 2025. And I told you that 2025 was my year of healing. I dealt with the little things, but this was the big thing that I had to end in 2025. In order for me to go on to the following year resurrected or a new life. So it happened, everything happened so fast. It happened so fast. And I'm not gonna go in details what happened afterwards. I just knew that God was in the center of that situation. And he delivered me from that situation because she wanted me dead. Even after we departed ways, she was still performing witchcraft over me. She was still making trips to the witch doctor. She was still doing things to me, and she was still manifesting in my dream. But every time she kept manifesting in my dream, I spoke up to her. I responded back to her. I had some form of authority over her. Like, she was, to this day, I still have dreams about her, but it's not as intense as it was. I'm still learning and trying to figure out what they mean, but yeah, God definitely delivered me from that situation, and that is my testimony. So thank you guys for listening. I'm grateful, but God is so good and he is so faithful. And if it wasn't because of that, I wouldn't be here where I was today. And I had a praying mother. My mom had gave her life to Christ, and she is the type to pray all hours, midnight. And she was the one that was keeping me alive all these years because she knew who her mother was, and I had no idea until that whole situation that happened. And God showed me grace, mercy, and favor that it was no turning back. Like, ever since that whole situation, I was like, I owe God my life. I have to seek him and follow him, because no one couldn't save me out of that situation. My mother couldn't save me. My father couldn't save me. No one couldn't save me. People that I talked to didn't say, they didn't even know what to say to me. When people were telling me to have compassion for her. I have compassion for her, but they were telling me to, telling her what she did was okay, because to give her credit, because at the end of the day, she got me to the U.S., and I was just like, that's demonic compassion, because she had no good intention. And I strongly believe that God wouldn't have overturned the situation no matter where I was. I could have still been in Haiti. I could have been in Europe. I could have been in Jamaica. I could have been wherever she decided to take me. God would have still did what he did to deliver me. So I cannot give someone credit that had no good intentions. Just like Joseph said to his brothers, you tend to harm me, but God turned it around for his good. So just like Joseph gave credit to gave credit to God, I give credit to God. she intended to harm me. I give credit to God. Because of God, I'm able to speak. Because of God, I'm able to help the next person. Because of God, I am in a country where I have freedom to speak. I have freedom to maneuver. I have freedom to be a better person. I have that. And that's because of God. It's not because of my grandmother. I'm not giving her credit for bringing me to the U.S. because her reason to bring me to the U.S. was to use me as a pawn against her daughter. Her daughter had an opportunity to come to the U.S. with another individual. She stopped that. She said that she did not want another individual taking her child away. And she turned around and did the same thing to her daughter. So anyways, I'm ending it. I'm wide awake. I'm probably not gonna get no sleep after this, but I guess it's just gonna be all night. But that is my testimony. And thank you guys for watching.